Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for episode 85 in the challenge series. We are getting ever closer to the end of the season, only about 3 months in universe, before we reach the final championship at episode 96. I say final, season finale. Anyway, trust me, the series isn't going anywhere. I've put way too much time into it to just end it at any time in the near future. This series ends when GT7 ends or GT8 comes out and improves on it. Or if some... Honestly, no, even if some surprise alternative game came out that allowed me to do something like this. I still think this variation would exist because there are just things that GT7 can do that other games can't. It's easy to, be annoyed at what isn't here. I still would love to have a 2004 Pontiac GTO or a Barracuda, and I would love to see tracks like Sebring or Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in the game. But there's a lot of things that are in this game that you can't find in any other games either. Example, 4th Gen Corvette. I'm not going to be able to do challenge series on GTA 5, which is like the only other game on this system that gets anywhere near GT7 in terms of vehicle roster. So, anywho, into 85, this episode's been a bit delayed as I've had a lot of commentating to do outside of the challenge series in the last 7 to 12 business days, and not so business days. And I've had to keep going in and out of the ARC account, and when I'm on the ARC account, I do not trust myself to do any work on the challenge series lest I accidentally upload it to the wrong channel. I've done it before, so at least back then it was back when I was still censoring the commentary, so it didn't matter as much. Nowadays that would be incredibly bad, but anyway, let's go for the first race of this episode. And the first race of the episode is green, in light of the real-life 24 Hours of Le Mans just happening the other day. I had elected to make the first race happen at the very same circuit. And, much like real life, the GM cars are here in droves. I think that almost a third of this grid was made by Chevrolet or Pontiac. It's crazy. The focus car is Barbara Page in her 8th gen Corvette, as she tries to sneak ahead of the MX-5 with a Corvette engine in it. There are a couple of new drivers on the field. Probably already caught glimpses of them as the field drives by the trackside cameras. The first and the less interesting of the two is Setsuna Suiseki, an actual pop idol from Japan, as opposed to these school idols that the likes of Mercury Racing are. Basically having a bad time with her record deal, record company, and she's trying to just use her second passion, motorsports, as a way to make herself forget about it. Her fans, and she has plenty of them, are none the wiser to this fact. Her real name is Konota Kageyama, but she races under her stage name, Setsuna Suiseki, because she's gotten so used to being called Setsuna that she sometimes forgets her actual name. And from what I understand, this is a Toyota Crown, obviously, but professional car tuners helped her fit the same engine that is in Rio's Tundra, the engine from the Lexus SC430 GT500 machine from around 2008. Excuse me. The other one, as we scroll up the field and we see just the full extent of all of these GM machines. The other new driver, recently made an overtake for the lead. Yeah, horsepower go! Very interesting character, this one. Kenneth Cutter. I'll have to assume Cutter is a nickname. The same way that we've done this all this time with John Thrasher and AJ Unleaded. Those are not their actual last names. AJ uses his fake last name because he doesn't like his identity being revealed on camera, being associated with anything that isn't, art. But he agreed to be in the series so long as his last name wasn't involved. And I was like, alright, fine, that precedent's already there anyway. And then Thrasher because he just doesn't like his last name. Kenneth Cutter, though, I think you don't really pick a last name like that, or a nickname even like that, unless you're trying to intimidate people. Yeah, I've heard the down low on these guys. Misery doesn't seem to be aware what these guys actually do in their spare time. They're a street racing gang. Constantly running from and destroying cop cars, damaging public and police property. I mean, for crying out loud, the guy's racing number is 510 because that's the police radio code for illegal street racing activities. Other news is Setsuko Kuro's brand new vehicle, a heavily dressed up Silvia S15 with a Nissan GTR engine on board. Should be solid in the turns. It'll be a little iffy because all the downforce will be dragging her down once she hits the most center straight though. Yeah, here's a GM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as Barbara nearly runs into the back of my dad. 6, 7, 8. 8 cars in this race are from GM. And Riho's Miata probably counts for half because her engine is from a GM car. But yeah, there are the miscellaneous updates, and we still haven't even completed a full lap. We are about to, but we are only now heading up to the line to begin the second of 3 laps here. So this will be a race that's a bit on the longer side. It'll be going well over the 10-minute mark. Probably into the 12 range, if I had to guess. If not into it, very close. Barbara wanted to move on Blanchard, but couldn't get on the brakes late enough. Not getting much space from that Skinnerashi, but she apparently doesn't need it. She'll sneak into the top 5 with that move. Outdrag Ruler, a bit of a slipstream assistance there. Still getting further slipstream off Fukuoka, whose car is going to have a lot of power. Brakes super early. Barbara's not ready for it, and she barely makes the turn. Nearly finds herself in the back of Kuro on the way. But the move is done, and she'll probably outdrag Setsuko with relative ease, leaving her to battle Kenneth Cutter, a battle between 2 Corvettes for the race lead. Meanwhile, Kuro is also about to get eaten alive by the Firebird. No contest. But he also has to brake early. Kuro doesn't. Oh, there's contact. Yeah, such a huge difference in braking force between these 2 cars. I think that was all but inevitable. And Bert's now licking his chops because he's going to get both of those places at the end of this lap. No, that cough came out of nowhere. I believe the C6 will have the advantage, a slight advantage in power. The C8 will have better cornering grip, though. I believe it's the lighter car of the two. And it's also mid-engine, which is usually just by default a bonus to cornering speeds at the expense of maybe a little bit of stability if your car isn't set up correctly. I've also been hearing through the pipeline that Nitro Knights are looking to expand their operation, trying to acquire more drivers than just the two that they currently have. The two they have been doing rather well, since Barber's one of them, and you've seen her attempt to take the lead away from a guy who's making his debut. It's been a solid debut for sure, since he's leading the race. He started, I believe, third. So not a lot of space through the Porsche curves, but Barber will find enough to put a Corvette through. Man, he really should have bought a Corvette, huh? I mean, shit, there are 6 of them in this race. Like, I know Corvette has a pretty long history at this track, but, like, even here too, apparently. And in an ironic fashion, Barber's livery is basically a recolor of the of the real-life C8 Corvette Le Mans race car that raced. What was it? No. It's for the IMSA version, not the WEC version, or WEC. I've heard it abbreviated that way now, apparently. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You don't say IMSA, you say IMSA. You don't say NASCAR, you say NASCAR. You don't say work, you say WRC, though, and you say F1 instead of phone. Or F1. I don't know where I was going with that, but apparently it's WEC, not WEC. So I guess it's going to be work and works now, huh, for World Rallycross and World Rally Championship. I mean, it only seems fair, you know? Barber is going to be under a bit of pressure now. We saw a bit of contact heading through the the first set of turns. Kenneth Cutter got a little aggressive on the brakes and tagged the C8 on the exit. He went for a gap that had definitely closed. I think the trackside camera really didn't catch that too well, and you can see the rear damage is sort of slightly dragging Barber's top speed down, enough to allow Cutter to pass her again. But Cutter is defending, that'll mess up his corner. Barber takes the full committed racing line and crosses over the cutback on Kenneth Cutter. Nitri did say he has a bit of a defensive driving style. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually kind of encouraged. It's when it becomes offensive and you run people over to grab positions that people tend not to like. I mean, there's a way to aggressively defend as well. I don't know if Cutter does that. Nitri didn't really specify. He just said, oh, he drives defensively, which means he'll like cover the inside, park the bus on apexes to avoid cutbacks. They just went too wide through the second Mulsanne chicane, which is not the easiest thing to do cleanly. He might be a absolute hooligan street racer outside of the Challenge Series, but Cutter's put on a relatively clean showing here with Page. And of course, Barbara is kind of in the same boat as like the likes of Eric and Thrasher. She'll never attempt to hit somebody. Or she would rather finish second than hit somebody for the win. Just isn't in her nature to move people out of the way. In the background, Burt Wheeler is slowly catching these two Corvettes. He's not being inhibited by having to battle anybody for a position, as Barber's going to try the outside of a corner that you don't really pass at. Sets up to go down the inside at Indianapolis. I believe that's the name of that turn. Tries the outside at Arnage. Cutter leaves the car's width and only that. They both oversteer on corner exit. They're both pushing their cars to and beyond their limits. Cutter will again have the advantage though as we return to a straightaway. But it's basically corners from here on. After the straightaway is over, we have an onslaught of left-right turns, starting with the Porsche curves. Barbara sneaks to the outside, that becomes the inside, she has the advantage. Sneaks ahead on the exit of the second left, but is forced wide by understeer. But Cutter doesn't do anything with it. Cutter's last chance, he thought about it as Barbara took a late apex, but barring really aggressive, what would have, I thought, been in character, as Barbara almost spins there. Mid-engine caught up with her for a sec. Chicane number 1, chicane number 2. Barbara Page will win the opening race of the episode here at the Circuit of Le Mans. Kenneth Cutter in his debut grabbed second, and he really made Barbara fight for that. Burt Wheeler with a quiet podium, and he was sneaking up on him. So, yeah, quite the opening race here, quite a debut from Kenneth Cutter. I can't really say the same for Suiseki though, who ends up with last place, damaged on lap 1 combat, and never was able to recover anything from there. On to race 2. Race 2 is away. We head to Interlagos for 640 class racing. We jump around a bit in this episode, to say the least. We go from 715 to 640, and spoiler alert, the next race is not 675. So Dakota Kingsley is the driver we are on board for this one. Surrounded by like the smallest cars on the track, the Honda 2 and 4, and then an Integra and a Civic. I believe there's only the one debuting driver here. Yeah, and his second member of the Steel Hornets crew, Casey King, who had an oddly quiet truck and also just got a bit accordioned as Minako pushed Alzaman into the back of Casey, but Casey's truck is built of sterner stuff. I mean, even as far as trucks go, trucks are normally relatively durable, but yeah, this one's even more so. This doesn't sound like an F-150. We have a battle of the heavyweights going on as Alzaman was damaged by that concertina effect. Where are the drivers on the track? There we go. A bit of a melee going through turn 1. Three trucks, a BMW, and my dad's GTO vying for 5th position. Damien is another vehicle that's some ways up the road. He managed to kind of... this is actually a battle for 4th, excuse me. And Taka Katamatsu is currently being forced off the track by a Brianna Tao. A bit of defensive driving from the tiny RX-8. It seems like you're a little bit out of your weight class there, if you were to ask me, but here we are. Kingsley has escaped that battle with 5th. The BMW and GTO kind of losing. Casey King not being able to make up too many spots either. When Barbara moved to the Nitro Knights, she upgraded to a Stingray Corvette, but converted her convertible Corvette into her 640 class car with a slightly edited, somewhat simplified design. It wasn't exactly a complicated design before, but now it's even more standard. At the moment, Reiko Mishima has a pretty decent lead. I would say about 3 seconds. And at least probably going to get bigger before it gets smaller, as... This is an image. Just this tiny RX-8 being chased by 2 F-150s and a minivan. Kingsley tried to sneak down the inside of Kotexa, but the door slammed. This isn't David versus Goliath, this is David running away from Goliath. Times 3. Goliath cubed. Now Kingsley will look at the inside of the fellow F-150 driver, and he'll maybe get the minivan for a bonus. Indeed he will, and now it is his turn to track down the mini RX-8. If he can even see it. He can, and he goes around it maybe. Nope, the RX-8 uses its size, or lack thereof, and its lightweight to corner better. The truck does not care. It will just accelerate better with its low-end torque. Tao will cut it off at the entrance to the second sweeper. And the truck still does not care. It'll go up the inside on exit because it has better acceleration, again. And there, Kingsley makes the overtake. Just like that, Kingsley has now caught the leader, Reiko Mishima. He had a pretty solid exit out of the final turn. Might just get her into turn 1 here as we're about to start the final lap of the race. No, his low-end torque has run out and the 300 will have the advantage in the high gears. Meanwhile, Kotexa wants to get ahead of Katamatsu. Won't be able to, though. They make big contact, but Kotexa has that inside. Katamatsu can maybe fight on the inside of turn 3, but I think Kotexa has that. And Kingsley, now with the slightly shorter straightaway, will try to out-drag Mishima into turn 4. And this time, he will get that done. He will take the lead with just under a lap left in the race. Tao has a bit of breathing room, as Kotexa got ahead of Katamatsu, and Newstein is now the one hounding him. But Liv may have a hard time making any passes through here, as that van is going to have 4-wheel drive advantages on the exit of each one. Each one of these low-speed turns, I should say. I should specify. Who was that? It's probably Kingsley. Lord knows he loves to do a bit of sliding around. Yep. His dirt racing. I almost made the Ghostbusters theme. His sprint car dirt track racing roots came to the forefront there as he slid into that final hairpin. And now he will slide onto the front straightaway and claim overall victory here at Interlagos. Reiko Mishima made it close at the start-finish with her superior power, but could not get there in time. Brianna Tao is going to literally just be in front of Kotexa for third, and Katamatsu will barely keep that M3 at bay. 8th place for Casey King on their debut. Not a terrible showing, considering I don't think they started there. I believe they started about 10th. Yeah, also Casey is a woman that pretends to be a man. I should probably just make that clear. Pretends to be a man for sake of masculinity, because her crew, the other Steel Hornets, are convinced that she is, because she always cuts her hair so short, and she's really flippin' tall. On to race 3. The third race of the episode is away, and we head to Blue Moon Bay. We have not been here in some time, but we figured with a slower class of cars, a shorter track like this is probably ideal. The 600 class cars will go racing here for a race that will probably take just over 8 minutes. 7 laps here, isn't as long as you probably think. Minako Kochiya is the focus driver, since they started last, in their incredibly eccentric-looking Atenza. And speaking of, that's also the vehicle of the new driver, Benjamin Charleston. Also part of the Steel Hornets, you can tell from the color scheme, but his is a much more, also ironically, a little more eccentric-looking car. Well, the other members of the Steel Hornets have had pretty, they've been base colored black. They've had yellow on them for sure, but they haven't really stuck out in a crowd nearly as much as this Mazda does. And not to mention a bunch of drift culture things on the back of, just really all over the car. One of my favorite looking cars, to be honest. And Charleston is trying to hold off Ivan Sudakov, but since that's probably the best car in this category, I doubt he will have much success. Sudakov barely sweeps through with this 300 SEL. I also, in case it hasn't been noticed already, I'm sure the viewers have for the most part, attempting to try having displayed driver names instead of displayed car names over the other people's heads. Slightly awkward thing is it does only seem to work on cars that are near the person I'm focusing on. Whereas I think if we change it to this, it's a little more consistent. As Ignacio Cortez will easily outdrag that 8.6 in a straight line. Minako has to react to the overspeed, almost does so too late. Sneaks up the inside of the Firebird. And off after the old Roadster up there. Apparently Thomas was testing a new setup for this thing, so it shouldn't really come as much of a surprise that he's getting that Roadster, he's putting it to good use at the moment. Leading the way with Kochiya catching slowly, but doesn't really seem like anybody else is getting that much closer to him. They would about break even on the straights, but Kochiya's getting the slipstream off of Thomas, which is allowing her to move to the inside and possibly steal the lead pretty much at the halfway mark. They make contact. That's much more dangerous for Thomas to be doing than for Minako, even though Thomas was the cause of the slight collision. And Minako moves into the lead with that pass. Now, when Thomas has the slipstream, the speed difference is pretty noticeable. Actually, it's not that much. I thought it would be a much bigger difference. Oh, God. Hi, Thrasher. That was disorienting as hell. Tries to sneak a move down the inside of Ivan. Can't find it, though. Easily gonna out-drag that A110 into the hairpin. The 300 SEL is only so good because it has so much power that it really just outdoes the other two flaws it has of being very heavy and not being very aerodynamic. But not many cars in this category are very aerodynamic. And the ones that are don't have much power, like the 8.6 or the A110. I thought for a second Noir boxed her in, but no, she's expertly made one overtake on Thrasher. Can't you get two on Mulsanne? She will. That Camaro is suddenly on rails through T1. Altenberg has been overtaken by the 300 SEL. The 8.6 is holding on pretty well, though, considering what it's up against and the track it's on, where having the straight line advantage down that main straightaway is a godsend. Even though the team itself is dissolved, the drivers of Atomic Blonde continue to struggle. Emmy didn't do much at Interlagos, and she's sitting in 18th here as well. As Minako heads through the last corner, heading up to start the final lap of the event. Thomas O'Reilly is keeping her honest, but hasn't really been able to get too close to her either. She'll take a wide arc into one, which will allow her to get a really good exit. Sotokov is now putting the pressure on Ignacio Cortez. Will the Firebird hold off the old Merc? As now Altenberg has created a very big train of cars behind him. By very big, I mean two. You know, well, it's very big in terms of size, not in terms of quantity, anyway. He leads Noir and Thrasher, they're actually not too far away in her own 8.6. But Minako Kochia is going to put on a clinic here at Blue Moon Bay, thus winning the race. Easily. She really pulled away from Thomas on that final lap, he just didn't have anything for her there. Cortez will round out the podium in his chicken of fire. And Sotokov will make a recovery from, I think, about 16th on the grid up to P4. And he probably had enough pace to get around Cortez if the race had continued further. Charleston 11th on his debut, I believe down 2, maybe 3 from where he started. So not his best work, especially not when a driver in the same exact vehicle won. So far for the debuting drivers, Cutter is the only one that's improved. Casey King has basically stayed exactly where they started, and Benjamin has fallen from where they started. On to race 4 with, I believe, another debuting driver. The 4th race of this episode is away, and now it is the 675 class. The focus driver of this race will be Michael Mayfield in his C4 Corvette. And we have actually 2 new drivers in this race. As I just walked to the leaderboard, Melissa Neptune had the race start of a lifetime. The first started 3rd in this race, I believe. Yes, he did. Aaron Humphrey, the 4th and final member of Steel Hornets, drives a 2015 Camaro, and he is definitely the silent type. I don't think he's spoken a word since he showed up in the paddock. Oh dear Lord, what is going on here? They're 3 wide for the lead up ahead of John. And a huge move from Aaron Humphrey. He's actually going to grab the lead off that. Let's see that in instant replay. The Camaro has some meaty horsepower, as is put on display here. Jean nearly spins out on the way down the hill. I think his car came unpacked there, bottomed out over that hill. He got the all-important inside lane on 2 Nissans, and moves himself to the race lead with only a handful of corners done. And that brings us to the other debuting driver in this race. Ryusei Takahata, younger brother of Kazuya Takahata, who doesn't currently, as of the time of this commentary, know that Ryusei is here. He just kind of determined that his brother was here, showed up in a heavily tuned Nissan R32 Skyline and said, "Put me in." And I guess Snider was just like, "Alright, bet." Currently battling Casillas for 4th place, is going to lose that battle. As a result of him basically showing up last minute, literally being like, "Okay, bet," and letting him in. Oh, hi, Stephanie. I don't really know jack shit about him. I just know that he's Kazuya's brother. And I don't actually know that 100% for sure. I only say that based off a guess, because they have the same last name. Mayfield is about to be 9th, as he'll go down the inside of Mulsanne, who's sort of caught sleeping there. Stephanie sends herself and Taro into the pit lane. This race honestly could have been 3 laps. We're kind of running low on episode time here. Mayfield is pushing the hell out of that car through these S's. Getting just barely alongside with Aspinall. And around the outside, nearly gets turned by Ryusei there. That's not a first impression you want to make. Thrasher has since seized the lead from Humphrey. A long time ago. What? Just got a much better run through there. And maybe a bit of late braking. Yeah. Humphrey gave way probably more than he had any real reason to. And Thrasher just eats that for breakfast. Mayfield looks to go down the inside of Aspinall. Brakes a little early, but has the inside nonetheless. Does it convert? Looks like not quite. They make slight fender contact, but nothing I'm sure Isabel isn't used to. V8 Supercars pretty much lives off that. Humphrey is now under some threat from Casillas behind in the snakeskin Corvette. finally finds a way to sneak around Compa into the top 4. They, why did they become Southern for that one word in specific? I'm not sure. Now Mayfield is catching, guess what, 2 more GM cars. Those have apparently been the focal point of this episode. Casillas down the inside. Humphreys tries to close the door. But that Corvette is there, and that Corvette is ahead. Mayfield is pretty much there with these two now. Thrasher isn't exactly in the distance either. I mean, he is in the distance, but he isn't that far away. If Mayfield doesn't lose too much time overtaking Humphrey and Casillas, he can catch Thrasher in the next 2 laps. We're only halfway through this race. This race is going to rival the Le Mans race as far as overall length goes. Yeah, this will be split, I'm thinking. This will be a 2-parter. I don't see any alternatives here. I think a bit of a step out from the Corvette there for Mayfield. I have to specify the Corvette. Oh my word, Casillas just defended himself into oblivion. Tried to keep Michael Mayfield behind, nearly found the back of Thrasher's Mustang at several miles an hour faster than he should have ever been in reaching that corner. He's lucky to have not collected somebody along the way. And now Aaron Humphreys is back on his trail. And speaking of trail, that is exactly what Michael Mayfield is on of Thrasher's. Halfway through the 3rd lap here. Downshift, much better exit. Oh, Thrasher's absolutely done for. That was just a dominant display of cornering grip from that C4 Corvette. There was just not a thing the Mustang driver could do to keep that behind. Takahata in his debut, hanging on to 7th. Considering he started on pole, that's not exactly a great trend. He's being followed by 2 BMWs and attempting to overtake a fellow Nissan, and instead runs into the back of it, only hurting himself. He runs into the back of Compa, but only damages his own car. Yeah, you'll get the overtake done here, sure, whatever. But he's doomed himself there. Thrasher's hanging with Mayfield as we begin the final lap of the race. He's been doing it his whole life. How much time that gained him on Thrasher, my god. That was like an immaculate sector right there. Mayfield must have been putting in the practice hours here at Kyoto. Something. Kyoto does actually have an open test session thing. It runs track days multiple times a week. It's in the same vein as Laguna Seca and Fuji, where they've been relatively welcome to just anybody who wants to come and take a fast car around there. I mean, it's called the driving park. It's, you know, it kind of works like any like playground or like natural park or dog park, where you can just kind of take yourself, the dog, the kids there, maybe the rest of the extended family, and just have a day of enjoyment. That's a cool shot there. Because you can see the cars back there making their way into that hairpin. can't really see it very well now because there are no cars back there, but you can see the taillight of last place. The headlight, I mean. It's just that unlike Laguna Seca, unlike Fuji, no major Challenge Series team has selected hasn't really selected Kyoto as their base of operations. We've got Scuderia Ferranti operating from Monza, and we've got my team operating from Fuji, as is Mercury Racing. Pacific Spirit, I think they go back and forth between Trial Mountain and Watkins Glen. Black Stallion Motorsports does most of its testing and such at Laguna Seca. Ironically enough, the track day that Nittery met Steel Hornets at was not such a test with Black Stallion, and Thomas Harley was there. But Michael Mayfield is going to barely keep that Mustang at bay over the start-finish, grabbing a victory at Kyoto Driving Park. Casillas will finish out the podium. Kevin Bergstrom, I didn't even notice him in this race. Where did he start? Okay. Kevin Bergstrom started this race from 16th on the grid, and he drove his BMW right up to 4th. That is a drive right there. We are green for the final race of the episode. I cut the previous recording off a bit early to save on try and save on video time if at all possible. I don't think it's going to matter in the long run, but I can try. 750 class racing at at Tokyo Expressway South. Brian Ice is the currently gridlocked main focus driver of this event in his Murcielago, however you say it. A bit of something I noticed off the race start. One new car and one updated car. Yeah. That was Nichiro Kawashiro's new test car. A Mitsubishi GTO, not the same one that she drives in the 675 category, that's a separate vehicle. She's managed to find and install a Suzuki Escudo engine in this thing, and the power is mind-blowing, but the turbo lag is even worse. Brian Ice, only about halfway through the first lap, is already looking at 8th place on Dedrick Schwartz, but that Porsche is lighter than his Murcielago. He will just conservatively take that kink and get the Porsche on exit pretty easily. That's late on the brakes, though. He manages to about find space to escape. Slightly clipped John Garrison, but I think they'll both prefer that over him rear-ending him or T-boning him and sending them both into the wall, and possibly out of the race as a whole. Also GM again, but the other big name that's the changed vehicle here is good old Ronika Katsuragi, the sort of ringleader of Thrasher's crew. Has just gotten a huge upgrade installed on her NSX. In the form of the engine from the 2008 Honda NSX Super GT car. Sort of in the same vein as having the Toyota Crown and Tundra having engines from the SC430 of the same year. But Veronica was able to install a high output turbocharger on it, and the NSX is a much more aerodynamic car. Thus meaning, this thing is a flippin' monster. Bit of a Corvette battle, Garrison versus Page. Barbara's going to have a better exit out of there, though, and keep a hold of 7th. They're both tracking down a GT3 Corvette of Aquila di Fuoco. And Jake just nearly ran right into the back of Thrasher, the overspeed there. Another Corvette in the form of Riley Blanchard is participating. That seems to be the last of them. And how the mighty have fallen. Bergstrom, after his heroic drive from 16th to 4th, now sits here at the back of the field in his V4 GT3, wondering what in the hell went wrong. As the other GT3s are not struggling in the same way. And it's not like he's been damaged and that's why he's back here. He just does not have speed. Brian Ice has moved himself into second place, but catching and overtaking the NSX will not be easy even for somebody of his caliber. Thrasher continues to fend off Scarborough's attacks. The AMG having a clear advantage on straightaways, and there are a lot of them here in Tokyo. Like this one. Oh, suddenly Barbara Page joins the party. We have a train, basically. It's not just a three-car battle, it's a train, and Barbara is going to try and outbrake the both of them. Can't get either one, though. Instead, under threat from Garrison, we have three more American cars battling behind. Noir mixing it up with the Corvettes. This just seems weird. More Corvettes, and then we have Noir's lone Viper fending them all off. And then we have AJ and other Group 3s back here. Brian Ice has definitely caught Katsuragi. Passing's another thing entirely, though. Holy crap, how'd you save that car? Well, I mean, I know how, it's four-wheel drive, but that was very close to disaster. Nope, that door closes. Ice knew it would. Didn't even try to open it. Just try and not break it, despite that being very hard to do when your car is way heavier. Instead, late Apex, the hairpin, try to get the NSX on corner exit, but the NSX... Oh, okay, yeah, I know. The NSX just went down with that. That four-wheel drive acceleration paid out there. But the Murcielago is going to struggle in an S section like this, where the NSX was basically born in it. Ice manages to stave off the Honda. Meanwhile, Tomas Pager is slowly catching this lead battle at the moment. As he's not being inhibited by battling anybody, he's got clean road. Ice moves into the lead. Now he'll look to try and extend it, as we have passed 6 minutes in the race. So I believe we're looking at 3 to go. Because they're going to finish this lap with like 20 seconds on the clock. So not everybody's going to finish this final lap. And if anybody is wondering, no, there was no roulette round planned for this race. This was the plan from the beginning. The 10-minute event was going to always be this. This 10-minute 750 class race at the Expressway. Veronica really pushed through that. Ice took it a little conservatively since he has the lead and he'd rather not throw it away. Veronica is kind of throwing caution to the wind at the moment. We'll see if that pays off. Oh, it will when Ice misses the hairpin and Veronica almost sneaks back to the inside of him. Yeah, if this were to be the final lap, they would have to finish this lap with after 8:10, basically, and they have not. Anybody who does probably won't make another lap around. But this is 2 laps to go for both Katsuragi and Ice, and for, by extension, everybody else that's near. It seems Bergstrom in this back 3 group here might be the only ones not making an extra lap. This 8-minute 10 has passed. Katsuragi down the inside of the Murcielago in the dockyard section. The light weight allows her to stick to that white line with ease. Veronica retakes the lead. With that Murcielago, I keep going back and forth. Better acceleration, but the outside lane isn't going to get Ice anywhere. Better exit granted to the Lamborghini, but only barely, not enough to really matter. Tries the inside, they're going to go too wide, no they're not. Ice backs out of that, that's not the greatest idea ever. Too wide here maybe? Yep, Ice barely sneaks through there. Later on the brakes will grant him that spot. Can Veronica come back at him in the next braking zone? Oh, she can. She gets her front bumper there. Ice gives way. They both slide out on the exit, but that all-wheel drive is going to just kick in and kick Veronica right back out of the lead. A bit unstable from Ice. That might help Veronica a little bit. This is the final lap. Wait, no. It's the final lap. And not everybody's going to be starting it either. Veronica's there. She can brake later with her lighter car, and she's already planning to do so. Steps out to the right. Ice has missed the hairpins, and that is Veronica's golden moment. Rare mistake from a driver like Ryan Ice, but it's exactly what she needed. And Ice tries to sneak himself into a space that wasn't open, which has cost him an opportunity to be ahead here. They're both about even on that corner exit. The Murcielago still has better acceleration, despite actually having less power. On the outside is Ice. How did he stick that? Oh my lord. That's not a pass you see every day. I think Veronica's a little shell-shocked by that as she takes the next hairpin, the next full peak. A little cautiously. I mean, I think I would be too. That's just not a thing you pull off too often. She still gets to the inside at the hairpin. A last-ditch effort from the NSX. The Murcielago's slight advantage. They give him a little bit of squeeze maneuvers heading up towards the final S's. Dust kicked up in the air. Veronica had the right line there. Ice, nothing. Forces Veronica wide though. With the compromised line. Veronica taps the Ice taps the wall. They're both pushing their car over the limits. Drag race to the start-finish line. Ice gets the victory by maybe a bumper. Oh my lord. That was some extreme racing here in Tokyo. Tomas Pager will grab third, followed closely by fellow Mercedes driver Jake Scarborough. Oh man. Well, that'll wake you up. Katsuragi and Ice put on a show to remember here in the final 3 laps of this Tokyo Expressway race, and that will cap off episode 85. I would like to probably say that Interi's experiment, at least as long as grid starts are in play, is not successful as she places 17th, but Veronica's upgrades definitely worked. I think it was just a matter of, she probably had the better car, but Ice is just the slightly better driver today. And if we came back here tomorrow, it could be completely different. I don't really know if you can really measure the difference between those two there. I mean, you can if we had the margin of victory somewhere in the replays. I think it was like 6 hundredths. but that's only what I remember seeing from the commentators' notes, and those are no longer in the room. So that is the episode completed. Maybe split into two, who knows, probably. But until 86, goodbye.